So today I'm talking about ceramics for my vlog. This is the first vlog I've ever filmed, so that's kind of exciting. But essentially the prompt was to just pick any topic that I want to talk about or am passionate about. It could be an interview or something like this, but I wanted to take the opportunity to talk about a porcelain class that I'm taking. It's really exciting since I really just teach a lot and I do a lot of studio work. Studio work is processing different works. So when you have pottery, you have different steps to it. You have greenware, which is, let's say, on the wheel, when you have the spinning wheel and you take your ball of clay and you put it on there and you make a bowl, a cup, whatever. You could attach a handle onto it if you wanted a mug. Or if you were hand building something, so that's rolling stuff out into slabs and putting them together. You could do pinch pots, which is when you take a ball, you poke a hole and you pinch around it. Lots of things you can hand build. Anything that is in that stage, that is just like your soft clay. And it will get hard eventually, which is when we go to biscuit, which is the next stage. Biscuing is when your clay is a little bit firmer. Simply put, we take all the water out of it and we heat it up. So it's no longer mud, is a really easy way of explaining it. After you biscuit, then you're going to put glaze on it. Glaze is essentially putting a layer of glass on top of your clay. It's made up of silica and different chemicals. There's two types of firing. There's oxidation and there's reduction. Oxidation is essentially when you keep a steady amount of oxygen in the environment. Reduction is when you take oxygen out of the environment. So if you had something like iron oxide in your glaze, then the iron would have to come out because it would be eating up all the oxygen inside of the actual glaze itself instead of the oxygen in the environment, because it has no oxygen to eat in the environment. If you were to talk to a chemist or a physicist, they would have a lot fancier ways of explaining it, but this is my understanding of it and this is how I explain it to my students. Anyway, I'm really excited about this class because it's something completely different from anything I've ever done before. Japanese ceramics are a completely different style of throwing, which is another reason why I took the class, because I think it's really important as a teacher to go back to being a student, and taking a class with techniques that are entirely new to me is a great way to kind of experience being a first-time student again. Funnily enough, this class is taught by my childhood teacher, and it's really exciting, and it's also funny because I thought all the techniques would be new, but watching him teach this class, I realized a lot of the techniques that he taught me as a kid are the techniques that come from Japanese porcelain. So, for example, in Japanese porcelain, I'll back up a little bit. One of the biggest differences is in Japanese porcelain, you throw clockwise, while in traditional Western porcelain, you would throw counterclockwise if you're a righty. If you're a lefty in traditional Western ceramics, you would throw clockwise. Anyway, with Japanese porcelain, you throw lefty, and then you'll spin the wheel counterclockwise to trim everything. But anyway, that's one of the biggest differences, and it's kind of exciting to learn how to do that, and it's a really valuable technique for when I have students that are left-handed. In terms of the techniques that my instructor is teaching, it's kind of exciting because he'll be talking about how to center something, and he's the only instructor I've ever seen explain when you center something as pushing it forward, and when it gets off center, just giving it a gentle nudge forward. That's how I explain it to my students, but I've never seen any other instructor explain it that way, and I realize that comes from his Japanese porcelain techniques. There's other techniques as well that I won't get into for time limit reasons, but that was one really big one that stood out to me that was kind of exciting to learn about. Another reason I'm really excited about this class is because he talks about the history of porcelain and his personal stories of when he was learning about porcelain and becoming a porcelain master. He adds a lot of personality to ceramics and why ceramics are important to people outside of their simple utility. And he discussed specifically in Japan, the way that ceramics are treated is like everyone has higher quality ceramics for their daily utility dishes, but they also see ceramics as an art form, and it's really different from American culture, but I think it's really interesting, and I really enjoy how he puts that other perspective on the things that we use and the pottery that we use, and how pottery is art despite the fact that it's just utility, and why it's so important to us as people and how much history it carries. Thanks for listening to my blog.